In a quiet, sun-drenched suburban town on a street with perfectly manicured lawns lived a man named Ethan. His life was a well-oiled machine, a decent office job, a stable salary, a manageable mortgage on a small but cozy house, and most importantly, a sense of complete control. This feeling was his most prized possession. Every morning, before getting out of bed, he would take his smartphone, open his banking app, and, looking at the neat figures of his balance, whisper to himself like a mantra, "Everything is fine. I have money. I have a good credit rating. I am safe." But one night, the established order was broken. It all started with a barely perceptible sound, like the rustle of crisp paper bills coming from the living room. The wind, probably, Ethan thought, turning over onto his other side. He attributed it to a draft that might have stirred the mail on the small table in the hallway. He got up, walked through the house. The windows were closed, the TV was off, all the mail lay untouched. Nothing. A few nights later, the sound returned, but this time it was closer and more insistent, and then he was awakened by an icy whisper right next to his ear. "Money, money, you're afraid of losing me, aren't you?" Ethan sat up abruptly in bed. In the far corner of the bedroom, where the moonlight couldn't reach, stood a figure. It was tall and unnaturally thin. Its body seemed to be stitched together from hundreds of torn documents, scraps of credit card statements, yellowed tax forms, and menacingly red unpaid bills. Its eyes were two empty sockets, in the depths of which numbers flickered chaotically as if on a dying ATM screen. "Who are you?" Ethan rasped, pressing himself against the headboard. "I am your fear, Ethan," the figure rustled, stepping out of the shadow. "I live beside everyone who dreads the next bill. When your salary weakens, I grow. When your health insurance lapses, I come closer. And when it's time to pay the mortgage, I stand at your bedside." The next morning, with a pounding heart, Ethan checked his accounts. The balance had decreased by several $100s. There were no debits, no transfers. The money had simply vanished. Night after night, the nightmare repeated. The creature returned, and the louder and more confidently it whispered about debts and loss, the faster his money disappeared. Panic seized Ethan. He began to grab at any side job, driving for a rideshare service at night, taking small gigs through apps. But the more desperately he clung to money, the stronger the creature became, as if it fed on his panic. Soon his credit cards were maxed out, his savings completely dried up, and then his retirement account began to evaporate. But the most terrifying thing was that the house itself began to empty. One morning, Ethan woke up to find the sofa, which he had been paying off for a year and a half, gone from the living room. A week later, the television disappeared, and then his bed. He didn't remember selling them. He would just wake up amidst increasingly empty and echoing walls. On the final night, the creature became enormous. It filled the entire room, its paper head scraping the ceiling, and its voice boomed like a distorted sound from a broken speaker. "Being prepared doesn't mean clinging to me. Money is just paper, numbers, credit. Your real support is knowledge, skills, the people who were by your side. But you chose fear, And now I will take everything. The next morning, neighbors watering their lawns noticed that the front door to Ethan's house was wide open. The house stood completely empty and silent. There was no furniture inside and no Ethan. Only one phrase was crudely scratched into the drywall above the spot where his bed once stood. "He who fears to lose, loses first."